Assalamu alaikum, I'm Dr. Fatima and welcome to my channel MRCPCH for beginners. So this video is about what you should be doing immediately after your FOP and TAS exam. I'm posting this on an occasion where the FOP and TAS results have just been published 2 days ago, and I received tons of messages about how I should be preparing next and etc. Not only after the results, I received so many messages immediately after the exam. A lot of my students immediately after the exam, they were confident that they will be passing the exam, and that night or that particular evening itself they messaged me to say that they wanted to enroll for the next class or how they should be preparing for the AKP exam. So I thought this is actually the perfect occasion to post this video, and let's go ahead. So in this video I'll tell you whether or not you should immediately go for AKP after your FOP and TAS exam. For example, if you have appeared for February exam, FOP and TAS, whether or not you should go for AKP in May. Second one, if you're not going for AKP in May, then how you should be studying. So this might be different if you are appearing for AKP first time, that is the first theory exam instead of the FOP and TAS, as well as I'll be showing you the books and what are the books you need to study, and then I'll tell you how you should be preparing yourself. All right. And if you are someone who believes in building basic knowledge and gaining knowledge, beneficial knowledge, rather than just passing the exam, you can keep on watching the video. I'll show the books and all the details to you. Okay. Now, the first thing that I said, that if you should go immediately for the next exam, that is the next diet, after finishing your FOP and TAS. For example, if you have finished your FOP TAS in February, I would not suggest you to go for AKP immediately in May. So if you have finished the exam in February, so your results come by around first week of April, just like this time, April 2024. And so the exam is in May. You basically hardly have 1.5 months for preparation, and I would never suggest that to anybody. Yes, there are cases, there are brilliant people who could do that, but me being a mentor, I wouldn't suggest that. I wouldn't ask anybody to take that risk, because more than passing the exam, it's all about learning really well. Because the difference between FOP, TAS and AKP is that FOP and TAS are very basic exam, whereas AKP, not only it's more clinical based, there is a lot of correlations. People think that it is only about the radiology part, the CT scan, MRI, the audiogram, etc., the ECG, EEG. Yes, those are parts of AKP, but apart from that, there are so much of clinical correlations. There are so many important things that you need to actually understand and grasp them slowly. So this actually requires a good understanding instead of simply rushing into it. So I would never suggest anybody to prepare in this short time. If you have passed in February, then try to go for the September attempt. In that case, your results come by April, then you will have a few months, a minimum of 4 to 5 months for preparation, which is enough if you are preparing by yourself or if you are going for any coaching, as per your convenience. Everybody has different methods, everybody has different life, so as per that. All right. So say you have finished your exam, FOP and TAS exam in February, and you got your results recently, okay, and you're planning for September attempt for AKP, which is the ideal situation. In that case, what you should start studying with and how you should study. So I'm going to give it in a generalized way, that whether you're joining or coaching or whether you're studying by yourself, these are certain things that you need to completely be thorough with. These are the books that I started myself with. These are the books that I suggest my students personally. So I'll share the books with you first, and then I'll say then step by step on how you should be going. All right. So we have the first book. It's really important. This is called The Survival Guide. It's called Pediatric Exams, The Survival Guide by Paul Gall. Okay. I don't know if I have pronounced it right, but this is the name. This is a survival guide. This book. Then we have the second book, which is the AKP clinical cases. Just like FOP and TAS clinical cases, this book also has 50 clinical cases, and you can go through them according to systems. If you do not study with systems, you may find it a bit difficult correlating. These cases are excellent. I literally cherish all these three books, AKP and FOP TAS clinical cases. Okay, these three books, and then we have a third book called the MRCP-CH Part 2, Questions and Answers for the New Format Exam. So basically, this is called the New Format book. All right, I know it's in reverse. I think I'll be posting the pictures on my Facebook group of the books if you need. All right, these are the books you should actually start studying by. So when I say that you should actually start studying by, you may say that okay, this is too much of the study materials. How do I start? How do I begin? This is too much. I know everybody looks for a kind of a shortcut, but at least these first two books, that is the Survival Guide and AKP Clinical Cases, if you study these two books system wise, you will be almost 1/3 done with the portions. Okay, for example, I'll take an example. You take the example of cardiology, or say take the example of endocrinology. Okay, so you start with endocrinology from Survival Guide and go through the clinical cases of endocrinology from clinical cases of AKP book. These are the two books you require. That's it. Along with that, there will be some guidelines. Not all the guidelines are important. For example, from endocrinology, you may go through DKA, you may go through hypothyroidism, you may go through hypoglycemia guidelines. These are the certain important things. So you'll be halfway through it. In that way, you'll have a good idea on, all right, how I can study for this particular system, what kind of questions will be asked, and then you can move towards studying the other books. So even though I mentioned about the new format book, book actually is a good book for discussion. I used to have discussion with my friends, my really dear friends, but I think it requires a lot of time to discuss with the new format and cases and everything. It is very time consuming. So if you have that scope, you can use that book for discussion with your friends, the cases and everything. Otherwise, the first two books, that is Survival Guide and AKP Clinical Cases, these should be your go-to book if you're preparing initially. Okay, you should be completely thorough with this book, at least reading them once before anything, before going for any of the recall books, before joining any classes, anything. Okay, so say now you're done with reading the Survival Guide as well as the AKP Clinical Cases system wise. All right, you have covered say most of the systems, as well as if time permits or if you have a good study group, you can go through the new format book. Okay, so you have done at least the major two books. After that, how you should be proceeding? So after that, you should make yourself a timetable or a schedule in this way. I know it's in reverse, but what you have to do is that, just like here I have allotted say 3 days. Okay, so we are now, today is April 7th. You can do like April 7, 8, 9th, 3 days for cardio, or as per your convenience. If you require more days like 5 days, then it's completely on you. In this way, you have to make the schedule. Now, how you should be studying? Say you have allotted 3 days for cardiology or say endocrinology, any system. So how you should be studying? Since you have already done the AKP clinical cases as well as the survival guide, right now you should be doing the system-wise recall, or known as the categorized recall of AKP. I'll show you the categorized recall file of AKP. It is this file. Okay, it's called AKP exams categorized. So in this particular file, you have all the systems, all the recalls of all the systems categorized, and it is updated till September 2021. So pretty much updated. You will just have to cover the rest by yourself. Okay, so for AKP exam, this is the step you should be following. Without the categorized recall, it's incomplete. It's absolutely incomplete. All right, so you have to go through the categorized recall of every system. If possible, go for the second revision. After that, once you're done with all the systems, reading the categorized recall of all systems, then you can allot some days for ECG, EEG, then radiology, CT scan, MRI, as well as ventilator, cardiac catheter, etc. Now, the ECG, EEG and radiology part, this should be done just once by you. do not repeat the classes. The reason, or do not repeat it many times, the reason is that the same pictures or same ECG, EEG, you will be solving them again in the yearly recalls as well as in the picture file. There is a file called pictures where it includes all the pictures, whether it is X-ray, CT scan, MRI, ECG, EEG, genetic pictures, ophthalmology and dermatology. Alright, so those things should be towards the end of your preparation. So this is how you should be preparing. I don't want to extend this video, but for initials, yes, you can start with only reading the survival guide as well as the AKP clinical cases. This will give you a really good boost. Trust me, after that, following any recall or following any classes will be super easy for you. You will be able to catch up faster. Since last September 2023, the AKP exam pattern, at least the pattern of questions, have been changing a little bit, and they are a bit complicated as they were before. That's the feedback I have received from my students. So in this way, you have to be prepared in a way that even though they change the framing of the questions, you should be able to answer. That's the whole purpose of reading the books. Because without reading the books, if you're going for only recalls, it's only question based learning. You are not actually building any knowledge. There's no residual knowledge for you. Alright, so I hope this video was helpful, and do let me know if you want any other queries, if you have any other queries regarding AKP. Thank you so much.